If you're looking for a guaranteed top 4, then hero augments are the way to go. Today we're going to be doing a full hero augments guide talking about the best hero augments, how to play them, and how to secure your top 4s. So we made some changes into the Fit Gamer TFT tournament, so we've added a full new category now of Masters Plus. So this opens up the tournament to a large amount of players that are outside of the silver to diamond range. So we're going to have our regular silver to diamond category, and then our second category is going to be Masters Plus. It's going to be on the same day. It'll just be 2 separate simultaneous tournaments within the Fit Gamer Fall Cup. In regards of dates, the dates have been pushed back 1 week because of the 3rd sub-regional dates for North America. So now the bootcamp dates are going to be on October 1st and 3rd, and the tournament days will be on the 5th and 6th. The total prize pool stays the exact same, and of course it's dependent on signups, and make sure to check out the website in the following days to see the updated information. Definitely sign up, it's a great opportunity, and I highly recommend it. Okay, so let's get straight into the actual guide now. Today we're going to be talking about hero augments. These are extremely powerful augments that are essentially a guaranteed top 4. So we'll talk about what they are, how to play them, and how to nab them. We have our S tier here, so we're going to be Spider Queen Elise as the first one, Lillia, Blitzcrank, Poppy, so all of the 1 cost ones. And then some of the better 2 and 3 cost ones is going to be Sweet Tooth plus Nunu, Spin to Win Wukong, and then the A tier hero augs that are a bit more specific are going to be Rumble and Galio. At the very end, we're going to do a recap and a Q&A for those who are watching this live. Okay, let's get started. Spider Queen Elise, 1 cost reroll comp. This is currently the strongest hero augment, averaging like a 3.68 in just Diamond Plus on 2-1. And this is so strong because recently there were a lot of vertical shapeshifter buffs. This is primarily a magic damage composition since we are main carrying Elise, but we do get some physical damage later by adding like Varus and Smolder. Of course, this will be like stage 4 plus though. This is almost an insta-take augment. It's so strong. However, you need to have at least like 1 component of her best in slot. So I'll talk about this on the next slide, and preferably some copies of Elise. In this way, you're able to like hopefully slam something at least by Paris Carousel, and that should really carry you until like at least 3, and then at least 3 should carry you until level 8. What this does, essentially, the stun is gone from the Elise ability. However, the Elise will now poison the target she is currently attacking and the 2's closest enemies for 130% damage over 3 seconds. So less utility, but a lot more damage, and you still have that heal. That's a quick intro into what the composition is. So this is what the level 5 board is going to look like. I still have the hero augment up here, and then same with the shop slots or the shop odds. What you want to do is you don't want to roll or level until 3-1. This is going to be right after Krugs. You're still going to be level 4, and you have the highest percent chance of seeing 1 cost units, which is 55, before you get to level 5. That's why we're going to roll on level 4. We're going to try to hit that at least 3-star. However, if you're getting close to like 35, 34 gold, and you don't have at least 3 yet, and you're maybe like 3 copies off, just sit, econ back up, and then start slow rolling on level 5. This is what your level 5 board is going to look like. You want 4 shape in ASAP, and then you can play Nomsy just for some heal cuts. Best in slot Elise is going to be Bloodthirster plus Warmogs. Warmogs for sure because of her damage scaling with HP. So that's why Warmogs is so important. Also, it just scales well with Shapeshifter and just synergizes extremely well. BT for the shield, that also scales off your max HP and also for some Omnivamp. And then your +1 can either be Archangels, Crown Guards, Rabadons, or worst case scenario, Jewel Gauntlets. You can also reroll Shyvana, Jace, and Nomsy with power on Shyvana, definitely over the Jace and Nomsy as well. It's not necessary, but if they come for free and you have an abundance of items, then definitely go for it. The goal here is to hit at least 3 ASAP, and then we really want to go level 8 and 9 for the legendary units, and also just like Varus. So like Varus, Smolder, and Briar, that is how we're going to be capping out our board. This is what our level 8 board is going to look like. So we get in 6 Shapeshifter, we have our Varus holding our 80 items in the back, and then we can play a Nomsy as well, also for heal cuts, or we could play like a Hunter or a Blaster, just depending on what we have and what we need. As I mentioned, the least damage, it scales off with max HP, which is why we really want that Warmogs and also 6 shape ASAP. As I mentioned, free anti-heal, just play Nomsy, and then you have 2 Dragonin. And regarding positioning, so Elise does a lot of damage, but she's also a drain tank unit. So the way you want to position is you actually want to same side Elise with the enemy damage. So if this is the opponent's board, let's say they have like a Kalista on this side, then you actually want the Elise to get hit first, especially if she has Crown Guard. you want her to get hit first, so then she takes damage, gets mana from being hit, and is able to cast more often, and casting more often will heal her because of her BT, and this is better than her not getting mana fed at all on the other side, and the Callista or backline carry killing the rest of our shapeshifters. So that's how you want to position. And then also, Elise is so strong right now with shapeshifters, you're most likely going to be able to get through the enemy front line rather easily, which will allow you to get a direct path to the enemy backline carry and basically one-shot them. In regards to Varus items, any 80 items is very good, like Deathblade, Last Whisper, Infinity Edge. You can also build like a red buff or Runons and a Shojin worst case scenario. However, it's not that great on him, but sometimes you have to make what you have. To cap out, you're going to be playing around Briar and also Smolder. Smolder is kind of opposite of Varus. Varus is an AD caster, while Smolder is an AD carry. So Smolder really wants more attack speed generic items rather than like crit ability based ones. And then also Briar is going to be holding our melee bruiser items. So like Sterric, BT, these are very, very good on her. And if you are able to hit this board and either like Briar 2 or Smolder 2, you essentially have won the game. Custom slot augments go with this. Shapeshifter, Crest, and Crown allows you to hit the breakpoints easier and also will allow you to hit H Shapeshifter. And that way, in that case, you just won't play the Nomsy, you'll just play a Jace and then put the emblem on like Smolder or Varus, preferably Smolder, because he will get hit first before the Varus. Find your center, Bug Silver Augments gives you extra % bonus damage than intended. Definitely take this, and then you'll just center your Elise. Ascension, because we're a stall comp, or we have so much stall that we're going to be proccing this. Eternal Growth Plus. Martyr, we have so much HP on our board. Healing for a percentage of that is huge. Same thing with the Epitaph Shield. And then Giant and Mighty, just more HP, scaling with Shapeshifter, scaling with our Warmogs, and scaling with our Elise damage. If you do have a Radiant Refractor, then you would be going the Warmogs on the Elise. That is better than the other two items on her. So definitely the best composition right now. If you hit Spider Queen on 2-1, you're very happy, and definitely slam these items that you have. All right, moving on to our next one, High Horsepower Lillia. So a little bit different of a composition, still 1 cost. We're still rerolling, of course. However, this is more of a single target magic damage burst comp, and there's 2 ways to play this. You could either play like the standard Ari reroll duo, or you could go fast state with Callista plus Diana. Because we're going to be doing a lot of magic damage, we're going to be requiring Shred in the form of a Spark on the Lillia. So what has changed here now, Lillia is becoming a single target damage dealer rather than doing damage to adjacent enemies. She also gains a lot of attack speed and moves faster, and her ability deals a lot of bonus damage. So whenever she casts, she is going to heal for a lot, basically one-shot her target, but she is only hitting 1 target. This is what your basic level 5 board is going to look like. I highly prefer playing the Ari version rather than the non-Ari version and just playing like Vertical Bastion plus like Callista backline. I think the Ari version is more consistent. However, if you somehow just hit a lot of Lillia 3s, or you already have a Lillia 2, then you hit High Horsepower, hit a random Lillia 3, then you don't want to stick around for the other units and you just want to push levels to try to get Diana ASAP. So let's say we have the AP backline items, we have early Aris, then we just play the regular Ari board, roll a little bit on level 4 for some copies of the 1 cost, and then slow roll level 5. Once you hit your 3-star 1 cost, go to level 6, roll for Ari, and you know the drill. If not, then you kind of want to hyper roll for this Lillia 3-star on level 4, right after Krugs, hit that Lillia 3-star, and then you want to start pumping levels. You can carry Tristana before Callista and put like a Rage Blade on her, that is perfectly fine. Best in slot for this composition is going to be BT plus Spark. These 2 are best in slot on the Lillia. Until you get a 3rd item, you could just use the Fairy Crown. It's fine for like early to mid game. However, late game you want an actual item such as Archangels, Jewel Gauntlet, or Crown Guard. Here are the 2 versions of the boards I was talking about. So you might recognize the first one. This is just your generic 4 Bastion, 4 Scholar Ari carry. And then you want to position so then the enemy melee carries, or the enemy melee units like kind of wrap and walk onto our line of fire of the Ari. So in this case, we're positioning for like the right side to walk in, and then vice versa, you position on the left side and move Ari over. That's the first one. And the second one is just Vertical Bastion, playing around Callista in the back line. The one thing about this is you really need to hit Diana, and then the Diana will become kind of like your trio carry and will hold some extra like melee frontline items. So I definitely prefer the Ari version instead. However, both compositions, they will cap out with Xerath on 9. So you get 3 Arcana here, and then you also get 2 Arcana here, and then you'll be putting the Signifier on the Xerath in this one. And once you have the chance, as I mentioned, replace the fairy crown for a real third item on Lillia. This is what your final board is going to look like. Best in slot augments. Raid boss is extremely good in these one cost bastion hero augments. So for both Lillia and Poppy, raid boss is going to be insane. Spark Golem is very good. Find your center, once again, bugs. Item collector is very good. Misconnections, because we're rolling so many one costs. Of course, this is going to be for the Ari version rather than the Callista vertical bastion version. And then also high voltage, giving us that spark, and is a great item in general, or great augment in general. If we're taking Radiant Refractor, then we will be going BT on the Lillia in this case. One thing to note, Radiant Refractor is very good augment in compositions where you have a hyper carry. So for example, since we're re-rolling a 3-star and they also have a hero augment attached onto them, putting a refractor, or like using the refractor to create a radiant item on them, is much more powerful than using a Radiant Refractor on like a 2-star 4 cost. So this is just like a hyper carry versus just like a strong carry type of scenario. All right, let's move on. So we talked about 2 so far. We talked about the OP Elise, and then we talked about high horsepower. We're going to move on to Zap Attack Blitzcrank now. So this is another 1-cost reroll comp. This is going to be a magic damage composition, and it has changed from going more from like a Cog Twist reroll to playing just vertical Honeymancy plus 3 mage and playing around Vagar. Since this is going to be a magic damage composition as usual, we are going to be needing Shred, and what has changed in the Zap Attack is now your Blitzcrank will deal some damage. So apart from just gaining like a health shield for X amount of seconds, you'll now also deal magic damage to nearby enemies every 4 seconds and on every ability cast. So Blitzcrank will now actually deal some pretty good damage, which is good. This is an example of what your early game board can look like. Just playing around 3 Honeymancy. If you hit an early Vagar, great, you could play mages. If not, then you can either just play like around Kog'Maw. But early game, Blitzcrank will really carry you at least until like stage 4, where you can start rerolling for that Vagar 3. Same thing as usual, 1 cost, don't roll or level until 3-1. Right after Krugs, send it on level 4, and you have a pretty decent chance of hitting a lot of copies of Blitzcrank, and hopefully that Blitzcrank 3 on 3-1. Best in slot augments to go along with the Blitzcrank. Warmogs for sure. This scales with 2 things. It scales with his ability shield, which is based off his max HP, and also his Vanguard shield. So you definitely want HP on this Blitzcrank. Spark is very good on him. We need Shred, and then he's also staying alive and doing damage. And the very last one can either be a Crown Guard or a Gargoyles. In regards of item prio, you want to prioritize the Blitzcrank items first, and then prioritize the Vagar items after you have a 3-star or a 3-item Blitzcrank. This is what your level 7 board is going to look like. As I mentioned, once you hit stage 4-1, you can level to 7 and start slow rolling for that Vagar 3. Nami will hold any leftover backline items and any heal cuts such as Red Buff or Morello. Starting on this stage, you want to roll for a charm each round for that Vagar passive, and you'll eventually get stronger and stronger after each charm purchase. So a pretty cheap board. You can just comfortably reroll on this. Blitzcrank is very strong. Hopefully hit that Nami 2, just rolling a lot on level 7 on stage 4. And then once you hit that Vagar 3, then you can start pumping levels and eventually swapping out some of these Honeymancy units for Arcana. This is what the swap is going to look like. We want to drop the Ziggs and the Kog'Maw for Tahm-Kench Sereth, and then eventually drop the Galio for a Nora. Best in slot augments go along with this. Beast Friends, the Honeymancy augment is extremely good for playing like reroll Honeymancy. Honeymancy +1, that way we're able to play 5 Honeymancy. Shields up is going to be the Vanguard augment, giving our Vanguards larger shields. Support Golem. Portable Forward is quite good in this composition because Blitzcrank makes really good use of a lot of artifacts. So Unending Despair because of his shield, Idle also because of his shield, Winter, so Eternal Winter, then in this case we will frontline him and also definitely build a Stone Plate, and then Innervating Locket will keep him healthy. Last but not least, if we have Radiant Refractor, we will be making a Warmogs on this Blitzcrank. So definitely very good. Honestly, most of these hero augments, if you have the opportunity to take them and you have a decent spot, they're insta-click. You go 3rd or 4th if you like mid-roll to low-roll, and if you're able to high-roll, then you could definitely go 1st or 2nd. At least with these ST hero augments. Some of the A-tier ones, you kind of just take your 2nd or 3rd, even with a high roll. Okay, Witchy Wallop Poppy, 1 cost reroll, physical damage composition. I really recommend playing around the Ari reroll version, just because if you're going fast 8, sometimes you can't establish a pretty good backline. So ideally play Ari reroll, but if you are able to go like fast 9 with an insane spot, most of the time you need raid boss, then you could go fast 9 and cap around legendaries. This is physical damage composition, so now we need Sunder instead of Shred, and what changes here is now Poppy will lose her shield, but she is going to strike 3 times, and dealing like a little bit less than the original damage, but since she's striking 3 times, it's still more than usual. So Poppy is a really big damage crank now. Because she has so much damage, we want to be putting her on the edges to avoid CC and then also try to make it into the enemy backline. Same thing as usual for 1 cost, don't roll or level until 3-1. Honestly, this is most likely like you're not re-rolling, or you're not rolling most of the time until like minimum stage 3 anyway. So in this case, just like don't roll or level. And then try to hit that Poppy 3 on level 4. Best in slots, Infinity Edge plus BT is for sure. Because most of Poppy's damage comes from her actual ability Strike, we want it to crit, hence the Infinity Edge. BT to keep her healthy and have sustain. And then the very last one is ideally Hand of Justice. If not, you could build a Sterix or a Last Whisper as well. In this composition, you want to be putting the Arcana Signifier on Hecarim because Poppy is going to be our main carry until you have Ari3 items, or at least like a very strong Ari, then you have more of an argument to swap it over to Ari. But early game, at least until like stage 4, Poppy 3 is going to be our main carry and really carrying us and beating enemy boards. This is what your final level 8 board is going to look like. Surprise, surprise, it's the actual just regular Ari Arcana board. Unless you can hit Diana, then this is the board you are going to play. If you do hit Diana, then you could drop like Zoe plus Milio for Diana plus Shen, and 6 Bastion is most of the time stronger, as long as you have items for that Diana. I already explained why you want to put Poppy on the edges, and then on level 9, you want to cap with Xerath and swap the Signifier to Xerath. That benefits both Ari and Poppy in this case. So this is what it'll look like if you hit that Diana, and then also you can carry that Diana with items as well. Raid Boss, as I mentioned, extremely good. Probably the #1 augment to go along with this composition, just because we're Vertical Bastion. Poppy with 3 items will have our largest, or the strongest Raid Boss buff. So then as the other Bastions die, they will transfer over some of the resistances over to our Poppy. For Golem 1 and 2, Find Your Bug, Item Collector 1 and 2, Unleash the Beast. So in this case, we will be playing, or we will be building a Sterix on the Poppy instead of the Hand of Justice. And then Radiant Refractor. In the stats, Bloodthirster and IE are both extremely good, so it just depends on what you have at the time. One thing to note, if you are able to get Silvermere Dawn on this unit, this will be insane. If you think about it, Poppy's auto attacks don't do any damage, and she's just like a drain tank getting hit and then ulting. So she doesn't miss the attack speed she loses from this augment, and you get an insane amount of AD, and you also get a lot of stuns. So she doesn't only hit 1 target, she rotates between hitting 2 targets. So it'll be like stun, 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 and essentially like one-shotting them. So Silvermere Dawn, definitely something you should look out for in this composition. All right, let's keep it rolling. Sweet Tooth Nunu, but keep in mind this is Sweet Tooth Plus. So regular Sweet Tooth, I think, averages around like 4.4, which would actually put it in like the A tier of hero augments. However, Sweet Tooth Plus is extremely good on 3-2, averaging more of a 4.1. We should by now already know how to play the Nunu composition. It's a 2-cost reroll composition. Kog'Maw, Tristana, Nunu, Rumble. This is a very good like top 3 comp. Top 4 low roll, and then top 2 like high roll, but most of the time you can't go first with this composition just because we're just re-rolling 2 costs, and because we're having both magic damage and physical damage, we want both Sunder and Shred. What the Sweet Tooth does, so not only does your Nunu gain 100 HP, he will also deal bonus damage based off of how much 100 HP like intervals he has, and then also whenever his ability, so his bite kills an enemy, Nunu will gain 35 health. And keep in mind, this of course works on PvE rounds, so you want to make sure that Nunu is getting hit first by like the wolves, getting hit first by like the raptors, and kind of RNGing killing a Krug for that extra HP. This is what your level 6 board is going to look like. Of course, rerolling Nunu, Rumble, Kog'Maw, and Tristana. In this case, we don't want to roll our level until at least 3-2, sometimes even 3-5 if there's a no gold Krugs. So no gold is given to you on Krugs, then everyone is very poor. Sometimes you have to wait 2 extra turns before leveling to 6 and rolling. But since slot Nunu, Warmox plus BT, And then your last one can either be like a Crown Guard or Archangels. Archangels has a really large play rate, however the delta is not that good. So it really just depends on what you have at the time. This is a tempo composition, not a winout comp, so you really need to be winning rounds on stage 3, which means that you don't want to just be like, oh, level 6, I'm sitting on one stars, just making my gold. You really want to be like rolling, hitting, of course, that Nunu 2 ASAP, rolling deep if you needed, hitting charms, and really winning rounds on stage 3, so your Nunu can build more HP, and the more HP he has, the more damage he has. So it works back and forth, and you just really need to be tempoing as early as possible. This is what your final board is going to look like. It's essentially just a Jinx on level 7. Because we are spending so much time on level 6, it's really hard to like really pump levels in this composition. However, eventually you do want to cap around Xerath plus like a Tahm Kench. Let's let Augments go with this. Beast Friends again, Honeymancy reroll with a Honeymancy Augments. We love to see it. 2 healthy, 1, 2, 3, 4. That is a lot of 2 costs, and that is a lot of healthy. Support Golem 1 and 2, Item Collector 1 and 2, Giant Mighty, and if we have Radiant Refractor, this will be a Warmogs onto the Nunu, just because of how he works with his health scaling. Caster is actually quite good in this composition, keeps us healthy, keeps our backline healthy against Karma, and then also Featherweights because we have a lot of 1 and 2 cost units. All right, and our very last S tier composition for our hero augments is going to be the spin to win Wukong comp. So now we're moving on to 3 cost territory. This is going to be a physical damage reroll composition, and we're going to be playing around 4 Hunter, Jinx, Wukong reroll. We are of course going to be needing Sunder, and the way spin to win works is not only will you gain 2 Wukongs. One thing to know, actually, this only comes on 3-2, so you can't be getting like any spin to wins on 2-1. That's just too broken. And then your Wukong, now the ability scales with attack damage instead of resist. So Gargoyles, of course, is best in slot on Wukong. He's actually the only unit that really wants Gargoyles. So even though now it scales with attack damage instead of resist, you still want Gargoyles on him. I'll show this on the next slide. And then after each cast, the Wukong will gain stacking attack damage and 30% attack speed. So this is what your board is going to look like. 4 Hunter, 3 Frost, 2 Preserver, 2 Sugarcroft. You're going to still want some Gargoyles on the Wukong, but you really want a Bloodthirster in his kit as well. You just want to play your strongest board until stage 3, 5, or 4-1 with all of the Nomsy buffs, all the Twitch buffs. It's really quite simple to play, or quite good to play like a 2 Hunter, like Vanguard Frontline Frost type of board. And then once you hit stage 3, 5, if you're super rich, send it to 7 and then roll a little bit for this board. But most of the time, you'll be leveling to 7 on 4-1 and rolling for this board. Present slot Wukong, just 2 Gargoyles plus a BT. You need a lot of bows for this Jinx. A lot of bows for this Jinx. She does, even after the changes with her 80 scaling with true damage, you still really want attack speed items on her rather than sword items. And then one thing to note for Sunder, Last Whisper is a lot better on Kog'Maw. This way you can put a 3rd damage item on your Jinx, either like a GS, another Rageblade, or Runons. And if they're hitting the same target, which you want to be having them adjacent anyway, just because of Kog'Maw AS, then the target that Jinx is attacking is already Sundered. So this essentially just frees up an item slot on her and allows her to do more damage. Heal Cut will go on Bard, and then your bonus melee bruiser items will go on your Olaf. This board has actually quite a high cap with Recon and Morgana, being able to fit both of these on level 8 and then level 9. Hitting Hunting Frenzy is very good since we have 4 Hunters. All that shimmers will allow us to get either a Moguls or a Collector / Gambler's Blade, just depending on what our other items have and what units we have. Category 5, and then if we have Radiant Refractor, this will actually be a Bloodthirster on the Wukong, specifically with this augment. If you don't have this augment, the Bloodthirster is not that good on Wukong, and also you'd be Radiant Refractoring either a Rage Blade or a Gargoyle Stoneplate. Okay, and moving on to our A tier compositions here, we have our Molten Caramel Rumble. So this is going to be a 2-cost magic damage reroll comp where we are rerolling both the Tristana and the Rumble. You want to take this if you have early Rumbles or JG or just some slammable AP item that your Rumble can use. So what this augment does is now you no longer have your durability, so your DR is gone on your Rumble. However, the ability will deal a lot more damage, essentially like 200%. You have less mana, so now it's going to be 30 mana maximum, and your Rumble also gains Omnivamp. This is what your board is going to look like, and essentially your best in slot augments. So shields up because we're going to be playing vertical vanguard. Magic wand is very good because we need a lot of rods, and also none of these traits apart from Sugarcroft give us bonus AP. Support Golem 1 and 2, and if we have a Radiant Refractor, this will be our Death Cap or our Bloodthirster. Best in slot on Tristana is essentially just 80 items. One thing to know is a lot of players build Rageblade on Tristana. However, I would say like the brunt of her damage actually comes from her ability since she's a blaster. So you want to be building less like auto attack centric items. Like Runons is fine. Lost Whisper for sure because you need Sunder, but either like a Runons or an Infinity Edge is a lot better than items such as like a Rageblade. Then you can also reroll Mordekaiser on top of this, put a Spark on him, put some like Adaptive Helm or a Crown Guard, just depending on what you have, and Tomkinch will take a vow and he'll be happy. And our very last hero augment of the day, Deja Vu Galio. This is going to be a 2-cost magic damage reroll composition. However, now this is going to be a stall comp. So we are going to be rerolling both the Galio plus the Mordekaiser, and you only want to take this augment if you have a bow or rod component, and then hopefully some Vanguards to really help you out to form a stronger board. Now what Deja Vu does, it turns Galio from a magic tank to like an attack speed magic damage carry in the backline. So not only will your Galio gain 3 range, you will also gain 15 mana and 6 HP for each auto attack. So we're going to be building a lot of Rage Blades on him, and his ability deals a little bit more damage but doesn't stun or have any DR. So since this is going to be a Galio reroll composition, we are going to be rerolling on level 6 for both Galio plus that Mordekaiser. You don't want to roll or level until 3-2, then you're going to level the 6 on 3-2, perfect interval, and roll down for your Galio 2, plus some frontline upgrades. Most of the time, you won't be hitting a Tomkinch here, so you can just play either like Portal or just like strong units, even like Blaster is fine if you have your items on Rumble at that time. Best in slot Galio is going to be 2 Rage Blades minimum, and then your third item is either going to be a Gunblade or a Rage Blade, depending on what you have for components. Rageblade is a little bit better in the stats, however Gunblade as a third item has a larger play rate. Take that as well. Mordekaiser will hold your tank items. Spark is very good on him because we need some shred in this composition. Warmogs will allow for a larger Vanguard shield, and then Sunfire Cave because Rumble's wound is not that reliable. After we hit that Galio 3, then we can start pumping levels, and we have a large spike on level 8 where we are able to play 3 mages. Preferably a Nami plus a Nora, and then that Nora plus Yumi will go onto our Galio. Presence all augments to go along with this composition. Shields up because we're playing vertical vanguard. You have my bow plus magic wand is very good. Extra AP plus a rod component. Extra attack speed plus a bow component. Anger issues is going to be very good since we need or in that case we'll do triple rage blade on our Galio and he'll become a super carry. Inspiring epitaph, as Yuna dies you'll get stacking attack speed, very good for this. And then support golem plus radiant refractor is very good. Our radiant refractor will go into a radiant rage blade for our Galio. Okay, and that's it. So I'll do a quick recap of all of our compositions, and then we will head into a Q&A for those who are watching this live. So today we talked about a lot of hero augments. We talked about some S tier augments, we talked about some A tier augments, but essentially the one thing to know for these hero augments is they're very strong on stage 2 because they will, all of the 1-cost ones, of course, give you a 2-star. So that is already a 2-star unit that is juiced up because of its hero augments. And they're very strong stage 2, stage 3, and are essentially just top 4s because of the tempo that you have, the HP that you'll save from these augments, and also some of them have very high caps as well. So that has been everything for today. Thanks so much for watching. Definitely take these in your games, get your free LP, and you'll be happy. So that's it for today. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you all on next time. And make sure to sign up for the Fit Gamer Fall Cup no matter what rank you are. Have a great day, and I'll see you.